You know what, though? It also reminds me that our outlook really matters, right? And where we put our energy really matters. And so if we believe that we are in control and that we really have no control over anybody but ourselves, it's like how we move through the world and what we think about is the only thing that's controllable. And sometimes we get stuck in the story of like, if only they would change, if only they would do the work, if only, if only. And we can waste a lot of energy being stuck on things that are external to us. And what I've learned is that the biggest growth and the most peace for me has come with taking responsibility for my own thoughts, my own actions, my own beliefs, and really leaving the rest and saying, it's none of my business how other people move through the world.
Welcome to the Self-Care Goddess podcast, where healing stories, practical self-care strategies, and science-backed tools to regulate stress, feel calm, grounded, and energized come together to help you reclaim your vitality. I'm your host, Rita Savoya, holistic nutritionist, trauma-informed breathwork coach, and founder of Breathwork Barista. This podcast is for women who are ready to restore their energy and radiance, reconnect with their bodies, reawaken their inner power, and redefine self-care as a way of being. Through science meets soul practices, restorative mind-body tools, and real stories of transformation, we'll explore how true well-being can help you live with more joy, vibrant health, and authentic connection to yourself and those you love. Take a deep breath in, let it go, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self-Care Goddess podcast. With today's theme, how do we come back to ourselves and what changes when we do? Very special guest, a long time in the making, but I'm so excited to have her join us today. But as you know, on the podcast, we walk the talk. So let's give ourselves a few moments to reset. Literally a couple of minutes. That's all we need. How do we do that? Maybe lowering our gaze and looking at a fixed point, or even closing our eyes if that feels safe to do right now. And just following the breath, flowing in through the nose, feeling the expansion, and then letting it go with a slight sigh through the mouth, feeling that release of any tension, any stiffness, any tightness that you're feeling in the body. Channeling those extended exhales, making them a little longer, a little slower than the inhales, and probably than you usually normally exhale. So just continue by following those breaths into the nose and then letting it go through the mouth with a gentle sigh. One more like this, in feeling the expansion of the belly, the rib cage and the chest, and then letting it all go, releasing what feels tight, stiff, letting it go with the exhale. Beautiful. Now I invite you to channel the breath in the area of the heart. So allowing the inhales and exhales to flow into this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive every single day without asking for anything in return. Feel the gratitude and the appreciation for this beautiful organ as you breathe in and out through your heart area. And in this space of immense gratitude, I invite you now to visualize someone that you're grateful for today. Visualize this person as if they were right here in front of you. And I invite you to send them all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation. Send it from your heart to theirs. And on your next inhale, send that love, that gratitude and appreciation, send it back to your heart. Expand your heart. Feel the gratitude and the love for being here, taking the time out of your busy day to just be present, be here. On your next inhale, flutter your eyes open, come back to us. Thank you for participating in that quick coherence technique. Literally 2 minutes to reset your nervous system. You can use this anytime and also teach your kids as well. Very, very nice way to get into coherence with your heart, your mind, and your body. So today's guest is someone who helps us come back home to ourselves. Meghan Bonhomme is a transformational speaker, college professor, and founder of the Reset Method. a framework designed to help ambitious individuals reconnect, rewire their inner world, and revolutionize how they live and lead. With over 20 years of experience in education, coaching, and wellness, she blends mindset work, nervous system regulation, and embodiment practices to create lasting, meaningful change. Her work, including Lonely Human School and her retreats, is rooted in one belief: when you care for the human, everything else expands. And there's a beautiful human side to Meghan as well. She's also a registered travel agent and officiant. She doesn't believe in guilty pleasures, but rather intentional ones, like her 15-minute horizontals with her German Shepherd by her side, fully stepping into rest and reset. And if her life had a soundtrack right now, it would be Don't Stop Believing. Love that song by Journey. Welcome, welcome, Meghan. Thank you for joining us on the Self Care Goddess podcast. How are you today?
I'm so grateful. And thank you so much for that start. I just feel really connected in my heart and ready to have this chat with you.
Thank you. And my apologies. I said the reset method, didn't I? I'm so used to reset. I'm sorry.
Oh,
It's actually, yes.
the re method.
Exactly. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But give us a little more background on your personal journey. So it is so aligned. I could have literally been reading my bio. By the way, I'm like, oh, I'm into that too. And I love that. And I'm really aligned to everything that you're doing. So I love, love, love speaking to like-minded women. But tell me about your personal journey. What sort of first sparked your curiosity to be on the mission that you're on today?
Yeah, well, I have so many different sort of entry points into it, but I can remember from like the time I was 6 years old, I was obsessed with the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And, this like sort of personal development obsession of mine began really, really young, of thinking of, how can we be of service and how can we get to know ourselves a little bit more so that we can offer our gifts to others. And so naturally becoming a teacher was something that fit that bill. And at age 21, I became a professor at a local college. I've been there for 17 years.
Wow.
And through that, what really became apparent to me through my own personal struggles, but also seeing students' struggles, is this idea of managing stress, of treating ourselves well, of being able to really negotiate through life's ups and downs and have that sense of resiliency. And so through that, I became a yoga teacher and started leading on the mat, and then got my breathwork certification and meditation certification. I am definitely a lifelong learner. So there's like no certification I've ever met that I've hated, like there's always something that I'm learning and trying to, just improve myself. And so that's really where my business started from, was really thinking about what can I offer. And so I started with an 8-week course, Lovely Human School, and saw a lot of transformation happen with women, and it kind of snowballed from there. And within the last 3 months, I've now opened my own yoga and movement studio. So it's kind of like, these big dreams and big visions continue to just happen as I stay really close to myself and loving who I am.
Yes, and that's beautiful. Congratulations on the wellness studio. I have to come check it out for sure. So you do a lot, right? You're teaching, running a business, leading retreats, and now this beautiful wellness studio that you've opened up. How do you balance? How do you balance all of this ambition with life and family and friends without like sustainably not burning out?
Yeah, this is the biggest question I probably get. And it's actually why I created a workshop called Design Your Self-Care System, because what I believe is that our self-care is different, right? How you feel and how I want to feel could be two totally separate things. So if I want to feel calm and you want to feel strong, the way that we get to that is going to be very different. And so thinking about, what do we want to feel? What brings us closer to it? What takes us farther away from it? And then how can we start to incorporate it in our daily lives without giving ourselves this like 0 to 100? Because I see this so often where people are like, I want to come to a yoga class, but I don't have time. And then they just do nothing, right? And instead I always say, okay, what's your plan B? What's your plan C? What's your plan D? If a 2-hour hike is your plan A, top of the line, this is my best self-care, Maybe your plan B is that you walk around the block. Maybe your plan C is that you step outside your front door and you take the breeze on your face. And maybe the plan D is like you just find a sun patch in your house and you just get the sun on your face. But I find for me really giving myself space to be okay with those little pockets of self-care, the 15 minutes here, the 60 seconds there, and really being clear on what fills me up. Because when you scroll through Instagram and you see, this massage device and this rose quartz roller and all of these things that we're sort of marketed to, it doesn't work for all of us, right? If it doesn't get us closer to how we actually want to feel. And so just being very clear on what do I know fills me up and where can I add it into my schedule that's sort of a non-negotiable. And then the last thing about that I always say is you can bookend your day. So if you start your day even 60 seconds doing something to fill you up, and then 60 seconds at the end of the day to feel like you've at least done something. And you can't always control what's happening in life in between. But when the alarm goes off, before you shut your eyes, there's always an opportunity.
I so agree with that. Those are those moments and that's when I often tell my clients, start there. If it seems too overwhelming, just start there. And I love that you're saying to schedule it in. So this has been a bit of a theme in these last podcasts that I've been recording with incredible women. I also have another one called Uplifter Leadership Series, and it's just personal stories, which I'd love to have you on as well. We can talk about those other multiple entry points to what you're doing. And I get that. Exactly what you mean. Because when people tell me, so what's your story? I'm like, which one? where got me where? So it's so incredible. So in terms of scheduling it, I'm so in agreement with you. So how would you tell a woman right now that is feeling, I need to do this? What is an easy way to schedule? What does that even mean to you?
Yeah, so I would first figure out how do you want to feel, what things fill you up, and then take a look at your calendar. And I always ask people, put it down, put all your responsibilities in a calendar. Mine is color coded. I have a calendar for self-care, a calendar for my studio, a calendar for my professor work, so that I can visually see from a color coded perspective how much I'm working, how much I'm outputting, and then I can match my input. So if I know that I have a 10-hour day on Tuesdays, I'm gonna either have to front load some self-care Wednesday morning, or on that Monday night, make sure that I have something. And the thing that really I think has been so helpful is understanding that my self-care is non-negotiable, because it allows me to do all the things that I'm doing. And if I let my self-care drop, I'm not going to be able to be sustainable. And so if a woman is really kind of figuring out, how does this work? Look at your calendar, see where your busy days are. Can you carve out 2 minutes, 60 seconds? And the funny part is, when I first get women who are like, I really don't have time, I say, did you go to the bathroom today? Did you? You put your headphones in and nobody's going to ask you why you're taking an extra 60 seconds in the bathroom. And if that is all you have, in some cases, that's enough to just find your breath, find the inhale, find the exhale, come back to your heart like we did at the beginning, right? We took the 2 minutes because the 2 minutes was important.
I love the color coding. I think you should create a journal and sell it.
Oh, did you
Right?
read my mind? That's been on my vision list for so long.
I'm telling you, the alignment is crazy. Yeah, I
It
think that's
is.
great. I love the color coding so that you can see how much time you're actually dedicating to everybody else and everything else and not yourself. So this has been, again, another big theme for us. And I feel the reason is we've seen our mothers, our grandmothers just self-sacrifice for everybody else and putting themselves last. Do you agree with that, by the way?
For
Or
sure,
what
for
where's
sure.
this coming from?
I think it's definitely learned. And I also think, the world goes round with women doing unpaid work, and being responsible for a lot of roles. And I love women. I feel like we are just the most open-hearted, big visionaries. And I've never met a woman who, if you're in distress, won't step out and say, "How can I help you?" And so I think it's just in our nature to be that way. And I also feel like there's so much power when we turn that care towards ourselves.
That's so true. That's so true. So do you find that it's changing a bit, shifting? The younger generation gets it a lot more than we did because I think we're also, doing a better job. Because I always tell the story of my friend. I was there, we were working out, and then her two beautiful daughters were like, "Oh, mommy," they wanted her. And she's like, "Okay, mommy's working out now. So give me 20 minutes. If you want to work out with us, that's great." And they ended up working out with us. But it was just like, okay, I've never heard my mom say that. My mom would be like dropping everything and then, okay, so what is it? What do you need? Right? So do you think it's changing or it will change? It's shifting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's the beautiful thing about working with youth because my students are, in their late teens, early 20s, and I'm just so hopeful for how open-minded they are, how aware they are, and I think that's one of the good things of social media is that it has shown them what is possible. And even if it's sort of masked in the you need to buy every serum on the face of the planet, there's that side of it, but it's also creating opportunity for especially young women to say, "Hey, I'm worth this extra time.
Yeah.
I'm worth having an everything shower. I'm worth taking time to journal, or any of those other sort of, kind of like trendy things that happen on TikTok and Instagram." So I do think it's changing. And I think that the more as women who are mentoring the younger generation, the more we fully embody it and show that this is important, it's just going to continue to get better and better.
I so agree. Yes, I love that. We're getting closer for sure to changing this taboo or whatever it is that we've learned and unlearn it for sure, which I'm really, really happy and excited about. It's a good time to be doing the work that we're doing and seeing the shift. So it is pretty amazing. What do you teach at the top?
I teach communications and fitness. It's like the
Oh, nice.
weirdest combination. I was hired for communications, so English, and then just because of my background, when they needed a fitness instructor, then they just,
Oh,
plugged
nice.
me in. Yeah.
Yes, nice, nice. And I love how you're in doing the embodiment, which is the breath work and the movement as well. And so, in terms of your self-care, what does it consist of? Is it more mindset work stuff, or is it more embodiment, physical? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I really follow my own method, which I'm sure we're going to get into, but it is really like a blend
Oh,
of
that's the re
mindfulness.
method? That's the re
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do it.
yeah,
Let's do
let's
it. Yes.
jump in.
Exactly.
Um,
Yes. Walk us through it.
Yeah, so my idea is that if you want to revolutionize your life, if you want to reach your potential, if you want that high performance, what you need is mindfulness first. And so that's like present moment awareness, that's coming back to your body, that's really being in your heart space. And then once you have that first building block, then I feel that mindset lands a lot easier. So sometimes like people are like, "Oh, just be positive, just be positive." But like if you hate yourself, you're not going to be positive about life. So, the mindfulness piece needs to come first, and then the mindset piece of what brings you into a more positive way of living, of thinking, of interacting with others. This is where I teach about boundary setting, how to have a conversation with people. And then that moves into the revolutionizing your life. And so I live this every single day when I feel like I'm getting, maybe a little bit spirally, or I can feel, the sort of like, I don't know if it's doubt creeping in sometimes, or like, certain times in the month where the energy wanes. My first thing is I go to mindfulness. Back into the body, present moment awareness. Can I come to my breath? Can I get into my body? That means I go horizontal with my dog for 15 minutes. I just plug headphones in, heating pad on, my dog on top of me, and I do nothing. It's like full rest for 15 minutes. And most often that will like get me out of anything. Nature is super important to me. I live in Northern Ontario, and so, there's like a forest very close and there's lakes really close by. Even just being outside and feeling the elements on my skin brings me back to that present moment. And there's so many healing opportunities when it comes to nature. So that's like a huge majority of my self-care practice. It's just like getting back into the body. Also dance. being silly. I really feel like we take ourselves so seriously and we hold ourselves to all these wild expectations. And sometimes you just need to be a little weird and shake it out. And, like I'll go outside and I'll roll in a snowbank and I'm just like 5 years old, like what would I do if I was five? What would she want to do? And I keep this little sun. It's like a Jellycat sun right on my desk just to remind myself that like we can work hard and have a goal and have fun doing it, and it can be joyful. So finding joy, being grateful, all of that is really embedded into the method, and things that like really work for me and have helped me achieve some wild things that I never even thought were possible.
Yes, and it sounds very realistic, very practical, and very simple as well, your method. So kudos, it's beautiful. So where would someone start? What's the sort of first next step if someone's really
Yeah.
interested?
First step is definitely carve out some time, whether it's 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and you really get serious around that boundary. Sometimes you need help with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to, call in the recruits. And I do best being facilitated. Like if you ask me to do yoga in my office, I'll think of 5 different things to do instead. So, if I pay for a yoga class, I will go to the yoga class and I will do it. So having facilitation, I work with a lot of different healers. So I would say for some people as well who have access, like book somebody in and start putting some energy behind where you want to go. I feel like oftentimes when we work with people, they can kind of get us out of our funk or get us out of the thoughts that keep us in the same place when really we want to take steps forward. And the breath, this, like we always have access to the breath, and whether we need the breath to activate us or we need the breath to regulate us, it is always available in every single moment.
That's so true. I love it. So I don't know where I found this quote, but and it's funny because I use it all the time, and I'm like, I really should know where I found it. But when you can control your breath, nothing or no one can take away your peace. You're just so
Oh,
calm, centered, and now I use it all the time, like literally use it all the time, and it's just been a lifesaver for me. It's so incredible. So I'm with you, and we can talk breath
yeah.
work maybe on another podcast. Like that'd be
Yeah.
cool, actually.
You know what though? It also reminds me that our outlook really matters, right? And where we put our energy really matters. And so if we believe that we are in control and that we really have no control over anybody but ourselves, it's like how we move through the world and what we think about is the only thing that's controllable. And sometimes we get stuck in the story of like, if only they would change, if only they would do the work, if only. And we can waste a lot of energy being stuck on things that are external to us. And what I've learned is that the biggest growth and the most peace for me has come with taking responsibility for my own thoughts, my own actions, my own beliefs, and really leaving the rest and saying, it's none of my business how other people move through the world. It really isn't. And it's created a lot more space in my heart, I find.
That is beautiful for sure. So, from your experience, is it mostly women that do the program?
Yeah, yeah. So my 8-week program's mostly women. I have a mix of men and women in my yoga classes, my movement classes, but typically Lovely Human School is primarily women.
So, from your experience, where do you see that the majority of the women are falling short or can sort of optimize in which aspect? Is it boundaries? I'm thinking maybe that, or is it that self-care and carving out that time, or just curious if there is.
Yeah. I think a lot of it there is an element of burnout or overwhelm and not knowing where to start, and being they need a container to do the work or to come back to themselves, or even an excuse to say I'm in a call for 90 minutes on a Monday for 8 weeks. And then from there, that sort of starts this ripple effect of taking time. And so the boundary is with themselves, the boundary is with time, and then the boundary is when it comes to other people and what they're available for and what they're not available for. And so I find a bit of a worthiness piece of feeling worthy of time, feeling
Mm.
worthy of love, feeling worthy of freedom and space in a schedule. And often what we see are like very busy women and this like glorification of like, I'm so busy. And there's a bit of like validation in that, you know, we kind of feel good being noticed as somebody doing something. And my hope is that by modeling that, you know, I do a lot and I rest a lot and I self-care a lot, that that can be something that's attainable or that other people would like.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. Because if you think about even when you work out, right, and you do your sets, you need that rest day in order for those muscles to build, right? And to everything to
Yeah.
so we don't often see that, especially if you're a high performer, because you associate high performance with productivity, and then that's doing. So I love that it's the reset is just as important. And
Yeah.
that's why I love balancing my yoga with like the yang with the yin, right? I think everything needs that balance. So
I
yes, I love that we're
find
talking about this.
Yeah, I find I mean most of the women are very ambitious women and I would consider myself an ambitious woman, and that means that we have high expectations for ourselves and we have high expectations for others, and I've learned that we need to create a little bit of space around being human, you know, that we're not always gonna be A plus. We're not always going to get the gold star. And sometimes that isn't even something that, you know, we need to strive for, that just how we're showing up and the fact that we're showing up is enough.
So true. Making that space,
Yeah.
scheduling in that space, because we are human beings, not
Yes.
human doers, you
Doings.
know?
Yeah. And that's why I called my course Lovely Human School, because
I like that. Yeah.
when I think about, we all want to do lovely things in the world, right? We want to make an impact in our niche. We want to offer our services and our gifts. We want to do lovely things. But before you can do lovely things, you have to feel lovely first, and then you have to see lovely in the world. And so that's the same sort of trajectory of the method of like feeling lovely through mindfulness and reconnecting to yourself, seeing lovely through mindset work and really looking at the world through an optimistic lens. Then you can revolutionize and do the thing that really fills you up.
So true. I love that. I love that. So, in terms of self-care, a lot of people talk about it. I mean, this is the Self-Care Goddess podcast. So,
Yes.
I feel maybe perhaps you may not agree with this, but a lot of it is very surface level. So, what does real sustainable self-care actually look like, in your opinion?
I would say it's whatever fills you up. You know, whatever brings you closer to how you want to feel and the things you want to do in the world. I think we can get really caught up with, oh, I've got a really great self-care skin routine. And so it's like, okay, awesome. I love that you're taking that time. How does that move you closer to how you actually want to feel or the things that you want to do in the world, right? What really opens your heart? What fills your heart up? What gives you energy? What allows you to do the lovely things that you want to do? That's the self-care that I think is really important. And often people talk about self-care as like fluffy, you know, it's like fluffy
Mhm.
self-care. And I also bring in icky self-care, like doing my taxes, you know, it is getting me closer to what I want, which is like, you know, CEO vibes. She is like on a mission. And that is part of it. Taxes are part of stepping up and taking care of that financial self. And so sometimes setting boundaries, icky self care, but it is taking me closer to how I want to feel, right? Feeling like I've got good energetic containers with the people in my life, that the relationships are feeling very clear. So a mix of the fluffy self-care and then also the icky self-care, and making sure that whatever it is we choose, that it gets us closer to how we want to feel.
That's cool. Icky self-care.
Yeah.
And I hear you with the taxes and the financial stuff. Oh, not my cup of tea for sure.
Yeah. But it is taking care, right? Like it is taking care of us. It's taking care of our financial well-being. It's taking care of our business that is meant to serve. So it's still so important.
So important. I agree. I agree. So for someone who knows they're ready for change, right? Someone listening, watching this, they're like, okay, I'm ready. And this has come up a lot before. They're ready for change, but keeps falling back into that same routine. What support is actually out there to help them create that lasting transformation? What are your thoughts?
I would say get into community, get into places where there are people doing the same thing, because it is so much easier when you see people doing the thing that you want to do. It adds another layer of motivation. And there was a time in my personal development where it wasn't a financial priority to join a course or to go on a retreat or to hire a coach. It just wasn't possible. And so I would just have YouTube videos in my ears at all times, so that I was like listening to Brene Brown, listening to Gabby Bernstein, listening to all of these women who I looked up to, who were living a life that I had envision for myself, and that was just very positive, right? Because the things that we're listening to, the information we're taking in, will inform how we feel. And so let it be as motivating as possible. So if you can't be in physical community, get into a virtual community and even pretend. Your brain doesn't know the difference that Brene Brown is not your best friend because you're listening to her 7 hours a day, and feel like you are capable of doing this work. I think the self-belief and the self-trust of, knowing that you're worth it, and knowing that you'll take a few steps forward and maybe you'll fall back, and then you'll take a few more steps forward, and that's part of the process.
So true. That's really lovely. Thank you for sharing that. So, what is the most common advice you tend to give your clients? Is there one?
Yeah, there's a few. There's like a few taglines that I go to. The first would be get out of your head and into your heart. So I help people drip all of those thoughts out of your brain, bring it down past your throat, let it like nestle in your heart, and then operate from heart. And the second one is stay in the positivity bubble. So like if it's not in the positivity bubble, if it's judgmental about yourself or others, if it's negative about yourself or others or a situation, it just like doesn't get us closer to how we want to live our life. And so, just nope. Nope. It's like, no, it doesn't belong here. And I teach that a lot when I'm leading retreats, where I say, like, you come into this space and you're in my bubble, and we don't talk negatively about ourselves here. I don't care if you can touch your toes or not. I don't care if you hate journaling and your spelling is atrocious. Like, it does not matter. We are just showing up, and that is enough.
Beautiful. So, what are your thoughts on? Because I'm with you on the positivity, but I often get asked about this toxic positivity, where it can get toxic. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I don't bypass feelings. Like, I allow feelings to be in my body and to make space for feelings, but there is a connection I find between feelings and the thoughts that we have related to the feelings. So, I can feel sadness, and then there's an additional layer where I then think about all the sad things that have happened to me. And so I like to carve out time of like, I pull the box, like the imaginary box off the shelf. I open it up. I kind of dig around what's in there, sadness, frustration, and I find some softness there. So there's an awareness piece. There's a, I know this lives inside me piece, a compassion piece. And then also, I can do both things. I can hold this feeling in my body, and I can think about it as an opportunity for me to learn and grow and expand and help others and be of service and continue to work towards my goals. So I'm a very much like both and, instead of, there have been times in my life where I've like sat in the sadness and I've been there for months and months and months and months. And at some point I just decided I don't want to feel this. Like, I don't want to live my life this way. I don't want my life to be, clouded in sadness. And so how can you have movement forward? It's by honoring the feeling that's inside of you. And I think from a positivity lens, it's not bypassing it, but it's just saying, I'm not going to be defined by what I'm feeling in my body.
And I love that you mentioned you made a choice to stop feeling the sadness, right? There's always a choice. And some of us get stuck in that we don't have the choice.
Yeah.
Happiness is a choice, right? You get to wake up and be like, I'm going to be happy today, even though things may not go the way they are, or when
Yeah.
something does not go your way, then it's
Yeah.
a choice on how you're going to react or respond to it. So,
Yeah, I wanna drive the bus. And sadness
yeah.
can be, in the seat beside me or behind me, and then anger can be like four rows back. And then, like we can just
Yeah.
be there, but I'm driving the bus. My dreams are driving the bus. My service is driving the bus.
I like that. I like that image. Ooh, that's of you driving.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what's the best advice you've ever been given that still holds true today?
I mean, I've been given so much good advice. I've had such incredible mentors, and I'm a little bit of a book nerd, so I also find that there's been so much advice given in books. And I don't know why this is coming to me, but when I was getting nervous about an interview for teaching, my dad had said to me, just be yourself and you can't go wrong. And in moments in my life, that's really sort of stayed with me when I felt like I've had to shrink or that I should shrink, or when I feel like maybe I shouldn't do the weird thing or I shouldn't, dance on a sidewalk because it feels really nice. But thinking, to be ourselves, to be authentic, to really honor who we are and the gifts that we have, I think you can't go wrong.
That's so true, and it's so much easier than wearing a
Yeah.
mask or being someone else. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, some of us learn this a little later in life, but it's okay. We still learn it, and we have to go
Yeah.
through what we have to go through to do it. But that is beautiful advice, which is a nice little segue because my next question is, what is the most influential book that you
I
have read?
know. I knew you were going to ask this question, and you can't see it on my. I have like a bookcase, and it's like all color coded, and I cannot land on one book. I really can't.
That's okay.
But
So
I
your
do.
most recent
Yeah.
one, that's what I usually ask. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my most recent ones, I mean, I'm looking at a few. I have The Art of Enough by
Mm.
Becky Hall. I have The Pivot Year by Brianna Weiss. I have A Course in Miracles on my desk. I have The
Nice.
Miracle of Mindfulness, Thich Nhat Hanh. I usually have like four or five books on the go all at once. So I do offer like a reading list for people because I read probably like 60 books a year and I always love sharing them. So if anybody ever wants it, just send me a Instagram message.
Beautiful. Thank you. And what do you mean you color code them? And what
Like
are the
on my
categories?
my bookshelf. So I do like the rainbow, so it's like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then all the white covers and all the black covers. So when you look at it, it's just like
Ah,
a very colorful bookcase.
ah, mine is there. I'm gonna do that too.
It's
That's
so
really,
fun. And I
yeah.
often I often remember what a cover looks like. So when I'm
Mm.
looking in my mind, instead of them just being everywhere or having to remember the author's name, I just remember the color and then I go to that section.
Ah, I love that. I'm totally gonna adopt that. Thank you.
Yeah, yes.
So I know we talked a little bit about your self-care habits, but what are the top three non-negotiable that you do on a daily basis?
15-minute horizontals, coffee with my wife, and I would say nature.
Nice, nice. And it's so funny. 99% of our guests they always say nature walks. Always, always, always. It's beautiful. It's so powerful. I love it too. So what modality are you working on now, or are you receiving for yourself? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so my most recent has been systemic constellations. I have
Hmm.
two really, really great teachers, and it works a lot with intergenerational trauma, with energy fields, with what we have in our cells, kind of related a bit to epigenetics. And I'm actually taking a facilitator training starting in 2 weeks.
Nice. Well, maybe we'll have you back on and tell us more
Yeah.
about.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes. Or my teachers because they have been so incredible and it's probably the most healing modality. And I've done a lot of healing modalities, the most healing, impactful ripple effect modality that I've ever worked with.
Powerful. Definitely
Super.
love to know more. So, Megan, what is your legacy? What do you want to be known for?
Love, first
Mm.
and foremost, love. Um, and really creating a space where people feel like they're loved and that they're worthy of love and that they can do the things that they love. I really pride myself on people feeling a sense of belonging, whether it's in my retreats or my courses or my classes. And so that legacy is really close to my heart, among the other things of like one day getting a retreat center, spiritual experience center up here in Northern Ontario and leading more retreats. But I might have to wait till I'm retired from my professor job to get all those in the ground and running. But yeah, love first and foremost.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So I know you have some goodies for us. You want to just share what people, where people can find you, and then what you're offering the audience.
Yeah, I have a 60-second meditation that I actually just re-recorded, and it just is something you can have in your pocket so that when you say I don't have time, you just plug your headphones in, you take 60 seconds to breathe and really come home to yourself, back into your body, back into your heart. And then I also have my self-care starter kit, which has the method broken down into little spreadsheet tabs where there's a mindfulness piece. So you're like, I want to work on mindfulness. What do I do? Here's a podcast for you. Here's a book. Here's a course. Here's what I've used before for mindfulness. And then it works for mindset. I have my reading list on there. And then I also have a bunch of my favorite things of self-care things I've gifted to people, YouTube videos that have been really helpful for me. So all of that is available. We'll put it in the show notes, link to my website. And I also, as you can tell, love chatting. So if anybody ever wants a little chat on Instagram, I love to voice note. And so if you need a reminder that self-care is something that you can be prioritizing, that you're worth it, you can find me at its Meg Bonhomme, Megbonhomme.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This has been so enlightening and so inspiring. I love what you're doing. I'm so aligned to it. Like all of the things are just so foundational to not only self-care, to our health, to our longevity. It's just applicable to just living a beautiful, loving, joyful life. So I'm just so grateful that our paths have crossed. I know this has been about a year in the making, so I'm so happy that we made it happen, and I look forward to
Yes,
having you back for sure.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. Thank you so much. And it was all aligned, all meant to be.
It's so true. It's so true. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Self Care Goddess podcast. If today's episode inspired you, share it with another woman who's ready to reclaim her vitality and lead from within. To continue your journey, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on ritasavoya.com. Until next time, remember, self-care isn't selfish, it's your superpower. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and keep rising. Ciao for now.